Okay, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm going to be doing a continuation of the last video, the parts of the face in Spanish. I had drawn a body. We didn't get to the body, we just did the face, and it was quite an elaborate class, but this class will be a little bit more to the point because we have a lot to cover. I am really happy to provide this resource, to create these classes for all of you watching, these free classes on YouTube, because, you know, Duolingo and Rosetta Stone, they are really great resources, and I'm never going to say a bad thing about them, but sometimes it could just be nice to have a proper teacher teaching you on a whiteboard. So I'm really excited for all of the adventures that we're gonna embark on learning this language, okay? I'm pretty sure that last time I didn't cover the mouth and lips. Boca y labios. Can you guess which one is feminine and which one is masculine based off of what I taught you last time? This one ends in an A, and this one, if we make it a singular noun, it ends in an O. So which one do you think is masculine and feminine? Yes, correct. So this is feminine, and then this is masculine. La boca y los labios. We'll go ahead and write out a sentence. This is always my favorite part, coming up with the wacky sentences. Tengo la boca llena de fideos. Quiero masticar rápido, pero me duele la quijada. So, if we directly translate this, because we will first, so tengo, tener means to have. I have the mouth full of noodles, like egg noodles in a soup. Quiero, querer, is to want. Masticar is masticate, a word in English. Masticar is to... Can anybody answer this for me? Have you all been looking? Have you all been studying? Masticar is to chew. Rápido. So if we eliminate this O right here, what word are we left with in English? Rapid. So what do you think that word rápido means? Pronounce it with me. Just the tip of your tongue on the front of your palate, and then let it. It'll take a while before it just rolls like that naturally, but that's the kind of tongue movement that you need. And then you could turn it into a roll eventually. Rápido. I-O. Ah. Fast, right? Quickly. Rapid means fast. Pero, so perro means dog. But if we eliminate one of the R's, we are left with but. Now this is not but like, you would say nalgas, which we will get to later in the lesson. It is not but like your behind, it is this word right here. However, me duele la quijada, but my hurts the jaw. So a direct translation, I want to quickly, but my hurts the jaw. I have my mouth full of egg noodles. I want to chew quickly, but my jaw hurts and I can't. Love to know in the comments why it is that you're choosing to learn Spanish, because sometimes I get comments from people telling me that they're moving to a whole new country, they don't know a word of Spanish, moving to Argentina for example, and that my videos are like giving them a good introductory crash course. Let's hit it. Labios. Tus labios se ven muy deshidratados. ¿Quieres agua? Your lips look very dehydrated. Do you want water? Deshidratado. So, deshidratados. Deshidratados. A lot of my students, they get very intimidated by words that look a little bit long, but you cannot skim over them, okay? If you're gonna be one of my students, I'm telling you now, you cannot skim over any words. You cannot just quickly look at them and not attempt to pronounce them, because I always emphasize that Spanish is so notoriously easy to pronounce because of these same constant syllable sounds. They're always going to sound the same 99% of instances, okay? And the more that you avoid words that look a little large, the more they're just going to continue to be part of the Spanish language and not part of your vocabulary, okay? So, compulsory that you slow down, sound them out, break them down. These words are never going to fly off of the board and eat you alive. So attack them because they won't attack you. Some people, they, in Spanish, they will say deshydratation or something like that to say dehydration because they just don't know how to say the word dehydrated. There are a lot of words that you can kind of translate roughly and people will be able to make out the meaning more or less. So there are a lot of words that they are going to be pretty easy to just guess, more or less be able to translate, and it will be accurate. But there will be other words that if you try to just speak some Spanglish and figure out how to translate them, you might sound like a clown. Okay. Tus labios. So labio, labios, labia. When you think about labia, in English, this means like labia of a woman's genitals, okay? So like the lips. Instead of it being with an A, we will say labios for the lips on the face. Now, labia, it's a different word, okay, in Spanish than it is English. This word, it kind of translates to this, a way with words. I will bring it up in other lessons. But labia, it's not necessarily a part of the body. Labia, it's something else that people are talking about. But labios is the lips on the face. Se, it can kind of be similar to it, or they. So when I say se requiere silencio, I am saying silence is required, okay? And it is also to be, okay? So ser is to be. Ser una persona importante, be an important person. And it also means a being. So a human being es un ser humano. Un ser humano, that is a human being. Se requiere silencio. Ellos se fueron. They left. Ellos se fueron. They left. Sé honesto. Be honest. You got it, dude. Se ven, ver. Is to look. Se ve bien. It looks good. Lo puedo ver means I can see it. I can see it. Muy, very, mucho, a lot. Muy, mucho. Deshidratados, dehydrated. ¿Quieres? Do you want water? Agua, 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 agua. So a lot of English speakers, they will pronounce this word here. They'll pronounce that first A with this ah sound, agua. Remember that you are not getting that pitch correct if you pronounce it like that, because this, what did I teach you? This always produces ah, ah, ah. You hear the difference? So this is agua. Same A sound always. U, a, u, a, agua. And then of course we put an upside down exclamation point and an upside down question mark before the sentence. And then we finish it off with a right side up question mark or exclamation point after the sentence. In Spanish, it's just the way it works. I think that we more or less had finished with the face. Now let's move on to the body. So we're starting from the neck all the way down to the feet. Let's hit it, baby. Neck, el cuello. Some Argentinian people, Uruguayan people, they will say el cuello. Say it with me. El cuello, cuello. But most of Latin America pronounces this as a Y, so el cuello. And also put the throat, which is la garganta. La garganta. Cuando era niña, pensaba que todos los hombres se habían tragado la tapa de una botella de cerveza. Say it with me. Cuando era niña, pensaba que todos los hombres se habían tragado la tapa de una botella de cerveza. When I was a young girl, I thought that all men had swallowed the caps from beer bottles, or the caps of beer bottles. And this is actually true. I actually thought that all men, they swallowed the caps from beer bottles, because my dad, when I asked him about his Adam's apple, which I didn't know what it was, and I asked, why do you have this here? What is that? And he told me that he swallowed the cap from a beer bottle one time. And whenever I would see men and I noticed that they all had it, they all had the thing, I thought all the men, they just do this, they don't take care of themselves, they think that they are just invincible, and they swallow the caps from beer bottles. But no, it was just an Adam's apple. So cuando is when. Era, when I was. Era, it's not exactly as commonly used for the word era. You know how there's a word era in English. This is more was. So era, was. If you want to say something like an era, you could say una época. 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 That's a little bit of a closer translation to this word here, era. Okay. Niña, niño. That's a little girl and a little boy. Now, mujer y hombre is woman and man. And then you also have this, chica and chico. Chica and chico. Which is like girl and guy. It's more colloquial. Que is what, or that, all the, this is the masculine. This is the masculine plural pronoun for men. Se, so remember what I said about the word se. You remember what the word se means. They can sometimes be a substitute for the word they. They had, so había and habían. There was. Habían. They had. It can also mean there was. they had swallowed. Tragado is swallowed. La tapa, which is feminine, so we put la as the pronoun for cap. La tapa is the top, the cover, the cap. De is of. Una is one. And because this is feminine right here, botella is feminine, we will put this word to describe one bottle. Talk about one bottle. Because in another lesson I had spoken about this, how if you're just talking about one or using the word a bottle, a thing, sometimes it'll be un. Un momento is a moment, but momento is masculine, right? So if we're talking about una botella, which is feminine, la botella, then of course we have to add in this a. It cannot just be un botella or uno botella. That would not make any sense. You cannot say uno botella or uno momento. It is either un or una if you are describing one thing in Spanish. Of beer, cerveza, cerveza. It is not cerveza, 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 cerveza. Great job. Definitely suggest which topics you'd like for me to cover. I already have a long list of a bunch of video ideas because teaching something like a language, I mean, it's just endless material really, but especially, you know, as some of my students learn and I start teaching more advanced lessons, which I will. The more intermediate and advanced courses that are coming up, I will post them on here, but let's move on to the next word, which will be shoulders or los hombros. Don't get this word twisted with hombres, which is men. Los hombres, men. El hombre, man. Hombros, think of it, if you want to make kind of an association, just to make this a little easier for you. Think about men as people who generally have broader shoulders than women. So hombros, hombres, men. O los hombres tienen los hombros anchos. Los hombres tienen los hombros anchos. Men have broad shoulders most of the time. So tener, as I have taught you previously, is, good job, to have. Tengo is I have. Tienes is you have. Tuve is I had. Tuviste is you had. You had. These will all come up later. I don't want any of my students to be too distracted, jumping around the video and thinking that it's their last chance to write down notes for a certain topic that I'm discussing, because it will come up later. I will bring all of this up. I try to be as thorough and repeat as much as I can, because learning a language, it's something that you do because you've repeated a lot, because a lot of things have been repeated to you over and over again, and you've written them down over and over and over again. Okay, and you've seen the words over and over again. So I will bring up every single form of every word that is commonly used in Spanish. I got you, baby. So we have done los hombros. Ahora nos movemos para el pecho, which is the chest. The chest. And if you would like, it's a pretty respectful word. I wouldn't say you're being offensive by using this, los pechos. This is for breasts. You could also say los senos for breasts. Okay, those are both respectful, polite words that you can use in a doctor's office. Me ripiaste el corazón del pecho cuando me diste esa noticia. You ripped my heart out of my chest when you gave me that announcement, when you gave me that news. Okay, so me, remember how I talked about te? It's kind of similar to the word me, the way that it's used. So te is used when you are the object of the verb, right? Me is used when the person who is giving you the sentence, the person who is speaking, is the object of the verb. Okay, so this person, you ripped their heart out of their chest. Okay, so you were the one who ripped it out of their chest. They are the object of this action, of this verb, ripped. El corazón, so the, because we do not exactly have a word for the, right? Because we don't exactly have a word for the. It is el or la. Just the masculine and feminine pronouns, because the nouns in Spanish, all of them have genders, okay? So, masculine noun, el corazón. Corazón is heart. Corazón. 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 Of the, right? I told you in the last lesson that I made. De, el. This is almost like a combination. This is basically like a combination of de and el, but of course, you know, we just omit one of the e's, so we're left with del. And this is of the. You ripped my heart from my chest. When, so cuando. ¿Cuál? What's? ¿Quién? Who? I'll touch on that a little bit later. When you gave me, so that is to give. Diste, you gave. The I gave. Does that make sense? Because this noun here is feminine, ends with an A, not all nouns that end with an A are going to be feminine, okay? Not all the ones that end with an O or an E are going to necessarily be masculine, but in this particular instances, and in most instances, this is a feminine noun. So, esa, ese esa is used. That. This means that. That news. That. But of course, because it's so different, because everything has genders, we do need to change up these words. They do also need to match the masculinity and the femininity of the nouns. So subconsciously, right, masculinity tends to be associated with action and direction. Femininity tends to be associated with receptivity, okay, and creativity. Because of the subconscious association, the original speakers of the Spanish language, they believed that assigning a masculinity or femininity to these abstract concepts, things like emotions and things that obviously do not have genitals, they thought that assigning either a masculinity or femininity to them would allow the speaker and the listener, the writer, to connect with those words in a different way. And this is how a lot of Romance languages are, okay? So it's just something you have to deal with. It's not just the Romance languages. There are other languages that feminize and masculinize things that it's a little bit unnecessary, really, but it adds a lot of beauty to the language. I think it just allows you to interpret topics in a different way, okay? It's such a trip, really, to listen to something in Spanish if you've only ever spoken or heard English, to really understand something fully in Spanish, because it gives you a little bit of a different perspective, and it just allows you to interpret all different kinds of art, all different kinds of media in a different way, because not only because of this, but this is a big part of it. It's that masculinity and that femininity that get associated with different things, okay? Moving on, we will do los brazos, the arms. Tengo los brazos gordos. Tengo que subir pesas para perder grasa. Tengo, I have the arms fat or chubby. I need to, I have, right? So tengo is to have. It could also mean I need to lift weights to lose fat. Grasa. Let's do that word real quick. Grasa. We have this French term. I don't even really know how to pronounce it, but I'll guess. Mardi Gras. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But this just means Fat Tuesday. Big celebration they do in New Orleans. Fat is gras. Grasa It's that same Latin root, grasa. This is fat. But it's the noun, right? The noun fat. If you want to say the adjective, right? You're describing a fat person or a fat, something that's thick, like a thick object. Gordo, grueso is another one. Grueso. Grueso is more thick, okay? Gordo. There are other, I guess, polite ways to say it. Gordito is a more endearing term for like a chubby person. Subir or levantar. Subir is to rise, to lift. Levantar is also to lift, to go up. Weights, pesa. Pesas. Esto pesa mucho. Es muy pesado. Heavy. ¿Y pesas? Weights. Pesa. It weighs a lot. It means to. It can also mean stop. Para. You need to stop. Stop now. Para. Tienes que parar. You need to stop. Tienes. Remember, tener is to have or to need. You need to do this. Tengo. I need to lift weight. Tienes que parar. You need to stop. But here it's utilized as to. To. Not to. Not to. To. Perder. Pierde. Lose. Perdí. I lost. I lost. Perdiste. You lost. And then there's another one. Perdió. Perdieron. Perderás. Perderán. I'm writing so damn quickly. Perderán. So, perdió. He lost or she lost. They lost. You will lose. They will lose. Si subes pesas, perderás grasa. You will lose fat if you lift weights. You could also say bajar de peso if you want to talk about losing weights. Bajar de peso. Bajar is to, when I said that subir is to rise up, to go up, to lift, bajar is the opposite of that, to go down. We've done arms, the first, general word for arms, but we still have a few topics to cover in the arm, right? We got the wrist, we got the elbows, we got the forearms, hands. Let's go to elbows. Elbows. los codos. Apoyé mi codo en mi escritorio por demasiado rato. Ahora me duele un poco. Apoyé. This word, it's a little bit, okay, so apoyar, it means to support, right? And this word, it kind of is sort of meaning support. Like I supported my arm with my elbow as I was leaning it on the desk. I rested my elbow on the desk, or I, pressed it into the desk. So I supported my forearm, right, with my elbow on my escritorio. Escribir. To write. What I'm doing right now is estoy escribiendo. It's another form of the word escribiendo. I am writing. Escritorio is the place where you write, so your desk. For demasiado. Demasiado is a lot, too much. Means too much. Demasiado. So demás means the rest. Los demás. So essentially when you're saying demasiado, you're kind of compounding this word with this suffix here, ado. And it just means too much of the rest, pretty much. That's a way to think about it. Rato is a while. A while. Rato. Un gran rato, a great while. While. Ahora is now. Ahora is now. If we add an R right here, and this becomes a sound, sound where we roll our tongues right here, what do you think that means? It means to save. Ahorrar is to save your money or save something. Ahorra. Not to save something from like a danger, okay? That's not what that means. Ahorra just simply means to save up something. Save up. Ahorrar tiempo means to save time. Remember when you are, or when the speaker, right, the person who is administering the sentence, they are the subject of the verb, which is duele. So duele is, it's a hurt. Dolor is pain. Dolió, doliendo, doloroso. Doloroso is painful. Doloroso, doloroso. Lots of forms of all these verbs. So definitely make sure to write them down with all of those common suffixes that you see. You can apply all of those different suffixes that I'm teaching you for different verbs. You can apply them to a bunch of other verbs, okay? So don't be shy. Un poco, a little, un poco, poco, a little, poquito. Remember, this is kind of adding like an endearing energy to whatever word you add it to. So poquito is just making it into a cutesy word, pretty much. Poquito, just a little bit. Next up, we have the forearm. And this one is actually quite a direct translation. Antebrazo. Not all of these body parts or words that you'll see in Spanish, they're going to be a direct translation of English. Not all of them, but this particular instance and in several others, it's a pretty much a direct translation. So antes means before. When you take the S out, when you just make it singular, right? It means for. So forearm, antebrazo. Lo que viene antes de este brazo, what comes before this part of the arm, esta parte del brazo, es el antebrazo. It is the forearm. Tus antebrazos están tan llenos de pecas. Tus antebrazos. Your forearms are estar. Estar is to be. In this case, we're replacing it for the word are. They are so tan, instead of meaning tan, so bronceado. Or is it with a Z? Bronceado. I'm just gonna put it like this. It means tan. We're not talking about this, we're talking about so full is lleno. Llenar means to fill. Llenó, it means it was filled. Llenó. Llenaron, they filled it. Llenaste, tú lo llenaste, you filled it. And pecas, freckles. So your forearms are so full of freckles. Pecas. Pecudo is, this is a D, freckly. Tus antebrazos están llenos de pecas. Llenos or llenos de pecas. We move on. We've done forearms and now we go to wrist, which is las muñecas. Las muñecas. You have maybe heard this word in the past and you might be confused because you think it means doll. It does actually mean doll. Una muñeca. But it also means wrist. Just like in English, there are some words that they look the same, they sound the same, they've got a different meaning. They've got 2 different meanings or 3 different meanings. Mis muñecas están cansadas por escribir tanto. Let me correct that a little bit. It's not right. My wrists are tired from writing so much. Pronounce it with me. Mis muñecas están cansadas por escribir tanto. Mis muñecas están cansadas por escribir tanto. Does that sound cute? cansado, cansada, se cansaron, te cansarás, te cansarías, se cansó, me cansé, te cansaste. Did you get tired? I got tired. He or she got tired. Would you get tired? You will get tired. They got tired. She is tired. He is tired. I want you to know that you're doing an amazing job. I don't even know what you sound like, but I know that you're doing an amazing job because I know that you're repeating after me. I know that you're sounding all of these out, and I know that you're writing down some of it, okay? So as long as you're practicing, as long as you're listening, as long as you're absorbing the material and registering it and doing what you can to register it thoroughly, you're doing an amazing job. Your accent doesn't need to be perfect, okay? Done is better than perfect. Let's continue. Las manos, the hands. Él me asustó. I know some people would say something like this. Él me asustó porque vi que tenía las manos llenas de tatuajes. He scared me because I saw that he had his hands full of tattoos. People say that about me, that they see tattoos, that they're scared. They're scared of me because I have tattoos. We have put this tilde, which indicates that this means he or him. But if we do not put the tilde there, we're just saying basically like the word the, right? So el micrófono, the microphone, el micrófono. He scared me. Él me asustó with the tilde. Asustó, he scared me. So asustar, that. Scares. To scare, to scare. Asustó is the past tense. So this is someone who saw this man who they were scared of. So because they saw him in the past, we are talking about the past tense of this verb, to scare. Por, so por gonna break down this word for que. Que is what. Por is for. So for what, if we are combining this, it's sort of like saying because. So porque, if we combine those two words, we have because. Because ver is to see. So the past tense of this verb is vi with a tilde. That he had. So tenías. If we add an S to this, you are talking to the person who you're delivering the sentence to. So as an example, tenías miedo. You had fear, you were scared. Tú tenías miedo. Were you scared? If I eliminate this S here, we are talking about someone else being described in that sentence. So we're talking about él, this person, whoever él is. Él tenía, he had. The hands, full, remember, full, lleno, llenas. Manos is feminine, so we would say llenas because this is a feminine noun. If we're going to say los brazos, it would be los brazos. Llenos. You get that? So because this is feminine, we will say llenas. Of tattoos. Tatuajes. 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 A-E-I-O-U. Tatuajes. Tatuajes. Say fingers. We would say los dedos. Los dedos. Dedos. Los dedos. The first D, you can say it with a little bit more density. Okay, so da. Still not the full amount that you would say this letter with in English. I think a lot of people would say something like dedos. Dedos. Da. So soften up that tongue movement when it presses up in the front of your palate. So right here, unlike the back of your teeth or just the front of the roof of your mouth, try to just instead of da. Try to make it less of a dense D sound. And then this one, you can make it even less dense. You can almost turn it into the TH sound that you speak or that you make when you're saying the word there, dedos, there. Tienes los dedos muy largos. Creo que las uñas largas no te asientan. You have the fingers very long. Largo. This does not simply mean large. The word grande is the word that you would use for large. It's a little closer. Largo is more long. Creo. To creer is to believe. You could also say pienso when you're trying to use think. But here we're just going to put creo. I believe that long nails don't suit you. Cuando algo te asienta, when something suits you, asienta, te asienta, te asienta. It suits you. Te asienta tanto ese corte de cabello que te hicieron. Te ves muy guapo, te ves muy chula, porque te asienta tanto el nuevo estilo. The new style really suits you. Una. What does this mean? And what does this mean? If you cannot tell me in words, you do not know it. You do not know the difference. What does this mean? Come on. Una. Correct. So it is a word that we would use to describe one of a feminine noun. Una uña. Uña or nail is feminine. So we will add this a instead of having it be un dedo. That is masculine noun. So we would omit this a, un dedo, una uña. A finger, a nail. This, remember this, un uña, un dedo does not make sense. Uña is a nail. When you see this little swirly on top of the N, just move the center of your tongue. Have your tongue kind of get fat like mine is right now. Not long, but fat. Uña. And then just put the center of your tongue and go up on your palate and try to pronounce an N that way. Instead of putting the tip of your tongue on the palate, put just the middle, the base and the middle of your tongue on your palate. Uña, nail. Excellent. Next up, we can do la panza, la barriga, el estómago, the stomach, the belly, the tummy. Tengo la panza tan hinchada por haber comido demasiados tacos, demasiados tacos. I have the belly so bloated from having eaten too many tacos. Tener, to have, yo tengo, I have. The, but it is feminine. This noun right here is feminine. So we, of course, instead of using el, we will say la panza. Tan, so, very. Hinchada is bloated. Hinchado, it's a little bit of like there's not an exact translation for bloating. I would say hinchado it means swollen, right? But you could use it for your belly, right? Because your belly kind of swells up when you eat too much. Hinchad is to swell. Hinchado if you are talking about something masculine, but because we are talking about the feminine noun again, remember, this adjective is going to be feminine as well. Hinchada instead of hinchado. Because of. Haber, have. So haber is, let's see, or let me see. And haber, to have done something. So it's not to have in the same way that tener is to have. When we say haber, it means to have done something, haber tenido esa experiencia, to have had that experience. Okay, so that's a translation there. Comido. Comer is to eat. To eat. Comió is the past tense of comer. Él comió, ella comió. Haber comido, to have eaten. So this is like saying eaten. Eaten. Demasiados. We went over demasiados. Demás is the rest. To have too much left over, too much of the rest. Demasiado, too much. Tacos. We all know tacos. We all love tacos. But demasiado singular versus demasiado plural. Demasiados, we're talking about multiple things. So demasiado dolor is too much pain, or demasiada angustia, right? Too much suffering. Demasiados, too much angst. Demasiados sueños, or pesadillas, I guess, because there's never too many dreams, but pesadillas is too many nightmares. Demasiados, I don't know, gatos, cats. El dolor is singular. La angustia is also singular. Pesadillas, this is plural. Las pesadillas. Los gatos, this is also plural. Do you get why this would also be plural and this would be singular? Too many and too much. It's pretty much the difference. Too many, too much. Too much pain, too many cats. You get it. Where were we? We will say el ombligo. This is the navel or the belly button, as many of you tend to say. El ombligo. El ombligo. Me voy a hacer una perforación en el ombligo para sentirme sexy, with an I instead of with a Y like in English. I am going to, the way that this is translated, me voy a hacer, I'm going to make a piercing on my belly button to feel sexy. I'm going to get a piercing on my belly button to make myself feel more sexy. Perforación, perforar. Perforate. Perforar, perforate. Very simple, but some people in Spanish they will say a word like piercing, they will just say it with their accent, but the proper way to say piercing is una perforación in Spanish. And just, again, do not be intimidated by these words just because they look a little bit longer than something that you're maybe used to, and you are a beginner, and you feel just very intimidated and overwhelmed by everything. I understand, but you need to sound all this out. This is not that long of a word. Perforación. Perforación. On, in is on the belly button or navel to feel, but we're adding, instead of saying sentir, which is to feel, we are saying sentirme. For me to feel. And sentirte is for you to feel. Te and me. Know the difference and know how they can be used as suffixes for these verbs. She's all marked up. She looks like she's covered in like shots of blood. We have done belly button. Now we can do la cintura, the waist, the waist, and just do it in one. Las caderas, not las calaveras. Those are like the sugar skulls. Caderas, those are the hips. Para tener una cintura más delgada, creo que la opción más fácil será una faja. Some of you are familiar with this word since it's a pretty popular word. It just means a girdle, or the modern word for a girdle is shapewear. To have, tener is to have, remember. Para is to. A, and this is feminine because this is feminine. More, slim. Delgado is slim. Flaco is skinny. Delgado, slim. I believe. Creer is to believe. That. La, because opción, even though this has an O here, it doesn't have an A anywhere in the word, it is actually feminine. Las opciones. That is a feminine noun. Las opciones. La opción. The option, that is more, más, more. Fácil, simple, easy, or not simple. Simple is sencillo. And easy is fácil, fácil, fácil. Ser is to be, so it will be. If I'm saying será, it means it will be. Una faja is a feminine noun, so of course this is also feminine. It's not un faja, it's una faja. Para tener, say it with me, una cintura más delgada, creo que la opción más fácil será una faja. Para tener una cintura más delgada, creo que la opción más fácil será una faja. To have a more slim waist, I believe the easiest option will be a girdle. Forget the gym, forget eating healthy. We need some shapewear, we need some skims. We will do the thighs next. The thighs. Los muslos. Los muslos. Músculos. This means muscles. Muscular is like when you're describing something related to the muscles. So if you're talking about muscle pain, you could say dolor muscular. Okay? Now, musculoso is muscular. So muscular is not, it does not mean the same thing as in English. It is musculoso, the one that you want to use, or musculosa to describe a woman or, you know, something feminine. Muscular is like muscular, something related to muscle pain, muscle discomfort, incomodidad muscular. You got it? Muscles, muscular pain or muscular something. And this is a muscular person that you would be describing with this word musculoso. But this has nothing to do with this. Muslos. If you wanted to talk about a chicken thigh, for example, it would be muslo de pollo. Muslo de pollo. A chicken thigh. Me encanta cuando un hombre tiene los muslos gruesos. Do you remember this word here? Remember when I told you about the word gordo, which means fat? This word means thick. Grueso, real thick, chunky. Me encanta means I love it. I love it. Now, it is a little bit less severe than this. Amo. Amo comer. I love to eat. Me encanta comer also means I love to eat. However, this is it's a little deeper, okay? And when you're talking about like an activity or something, it is usually more appropriate to say, or like a certain trait on somebody, a piece of music or whatever, you would preferably say me encanta, I love it. Amo is real intense. Even some people, they will say te quiero instead of te amo. and they kind of more or less have the same meaning, even though querer is to want. Okay, so querer is to really want, but it just sounds less severe, okay, less intense than amo, amar. Amo los hombres, amo cuando los hombres tienen los muslos gruesos. Me encanta. Sort of, if you're trying to remember, think of it as it enchants me. It's enchanting. Me encanta. Cuando is when a man, we do not say una hombre. We do not say uno hombre. We will just say un hombre. Because un is more like saying a man. And then uno is, if someone's asking you the question, how many men, cuántos hombres, you would say solo uno, only one. Solo uno. But you would never say uno hombre. Does that, you understand what I'm saying? Uno hombre. Tiene, tener is to have. Él tiene, he has the thighs thick. I love it when a man has thick thighs. I do like it when a man has nice thick thighs. Rodillas, rodillas, knees. Cuando me haga rica, me compraré una cadena de oro que me llegue hasta las rodillas. Cuando, when I make myself, haga is related to this word hacer, which is to do or to make. Cuando me haga, cuando se hizo, when he made himself rich. Cuando se hizo, me haga, cuando yo me haga, when I make myself rich. I will, compraré. Comprar is present tense. Compraré is future. So I will buy this. Una, this is feminine because this noun is also feminine. De oro. Oro is gold. This is a word in English. Or, and this means gold. Okay, that reaches. Me llegue. Llega, to reach. There are multiple forms of that word, so we could say, and I don't want you to worry too much, especially when you are practicing speaking the language. Let's say that you're moving to another country, or you're moving somewhere within this country, wherever you are, you know, where English is the native language. There just happen to be a lot of immigrants who speak Spanish, and you want to be able to communicate with them. Llegar. It also means to arrive. If you're communicating with different people, sometimes if you use the improper suffix to any of these words, they will still understand you, okay? You don't need to panic. You don't need to be too perfect about it. Just practice and speak the language and make your mistakes, okay? Llega, llegar, llegaron. Llegó. Llegué. with a tilde and then llegue. Me llega. El paquete llega mañana. The package arrives tomorrow. No puedes llegar tarde a la escuela. You cannot show up late to school. Te llegaron muchos paquetes. Lots of packages have arrived for you. Yo llego cansadísimo del trabajo. I arrive so tired from work, so exhausted from work. Or te llegó un paquete. So llegaron is plural. Te llegó is past tense and it is singular. Llegué porque no me estás prestando atención. I've arrived. Why are you not paying attention to me? Yo llegué. I've arrived. Cuando me llegue. When it comes to me. Cuando me llegue. When it comes to me. Are you picking up on the differences between all the forms of these words? I hope that you are. I hope that you're making the connections. Not pronounce the H in Spanish. Hasta la vista is until the next time I see you. So vista is sight, until the next sight of you. Until the next sight of you, I will greet you, I will see you until next time. Hasta la vista. Until, that's what this means. So the direct translation is it reaches until my knees. Hasta. Hasta que no me entregues el dinero, yo no te puedo prestar más dinero. We are almost done. The instruction, it's gotta be real long, real thorough, and I understand that. I definitely understand that as someone who had to learn this language. Most of it, I mean, it was taught to me, when I was a kid, but a lot of it I really did have to learn on my own. I'd had to study. When I was younger, I just spent a lot of hours on Google Translate pretty much, and I would read books and I would highlight every single word I didn't understand. There were a lot of them, and there actually still are a lot of them with certain pieces of text. I can absolutely do a video about my techniques for learning a new language without real formal instruction. I mean, the internet kind of does everything for you nowadays. You can just go on something like Google Translate and translate whatever you want and write it down as many times as you need. Las batatas. The calves. And if we eliminate this as the calf, not the baby cow, but the muscle, the part of the leg. Tiene un cuerpo bastante musculoso. Sin embargo, sus patatas se parecen a los palitos que uso para sacar el churre de mis dientes. Tiene un cuerpo bastante musculoso, sin embargo, sus patatas se parecen a los palitos que uso para sacar el churre de mis dientes. Let's break it down. He has, you don't always need to add él or ella. Sometimes it's really implied, so you can just start the sentence off with tiene, has, a body, very muscular. However, is sin embargo. However, sus, their or his or hers, it really applies to either. Sus batatas, calves, they look like the little sticks that I use to take the gunk out of my teeth. His calves look like toothpicks. They're so skinny that they look like toothpicks. He has a quite muscular body, so bastante is quite. It's definitely really muscular. Sin embargo, without embargo. However, his or her or their batatas, calves, se parecen, they look, se parecen. They look, or they look alike. Hey, los dos se parecen, they look a lot alike. Se parecen. They look like the sticks. So palo is a stick. Palitos is, when we're adding ito as a suffix to the end of a noun, it just makes it like a cutesy thing. I've explained that before. It's just kind of an endearing suffix. So when we say palitos, we're joking around, we're being funny. A los palitos, the little sticks, or we're just saying that something is little, that I use. So usar is to use, but when I say uso, it means I use. I use, to use, and I use. To is para. In order to, para hacer esto, tengo que hacer lo otro. In order to do this, I need to do the other thing. Sacar is to take out. Not secar. Secar with an E. Secar with an E is to dry. Secar with an E is to dry. Sacar is to remove, to take out. Churre is gunk. So dirt, grime, el churre, and it is masculine, so we will give it a masculine pronoun. De, of, my, mis, dientes, dental. This is a word that has like a Latin root, so denti, diente, dental. Think of it like that, diente, denti. Dental. You got it. Then I think we only have about 3 more terms. I'm just gonna cover them all in one, okay? So this video is I've been filming for 2 hours at this point. We've got los tobillos, the ankles, los pies. This is not los pies, this is los pies, and los dedos, de los pies. Los tobillos is the ankles. Los dedos de los pies is the fingers of the feet. So we actually do not have a word for toes in Spanish. I find it really funny when I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying the word toes. In Spanish, I'm saying los dedos de los pies, the fingers of the feet. I just find it so comical that there are so many words in Spanish and we did not come up with a proper word for toes. It is just the fingers of the feet. And the feet, which is los pies. How can we use all of these words in a sentence? Because I will not leave you without a sentence. Cuando me rompí el tobillo, el pie se me puso morado y no, or we can say perdí la sensación en los dedos de mis pies. Cuando me rompí el tobillo, el pie se me puso morado y perdí la sensación en los dedos de mis pies. When I broke my ankle, the foot or my foot, it turned, it got, so puso, it's another form of the word poner. Poner is to put. So when we say puso, a translation of it would be it became se puso morado, it became purple. When I broke my ankle, my foot became purple. Y is and, perdí, perder. Perdí, you remember this? Perdió. Perdiste, all of the different suffixes that you can add to that, to this action, to this verb, to lose, perder. I lost the sensation in my toes or in the fingers of my foot. Cuando me rompí el tobillo, when I broke my ankle, broke, this is past tense, rompí with that tilde on that I. The ankle, this is of course masculine because this noun is masculine. El pie, this is also masculine, the foot. Se me, ser is to be, and remember, me, the way that that's used, when the person who is giving out the sentence, the person who is speaking or writing the sentence, when they are the object of the verb, okay? When the verb is happening to them. Se me puso, it became purple, and perdí, past tense of lose, I lost. The la sensación, this is feminine, so we will put la, will have the feminine pronoun. Sensación, the sensation, right? Real easy, real simple translation. In, on the fingers of my feet, on my toes. Are you ready for the final recap? I'm going to write down all of these words really quickly. I'll draw a new person and I will write out for you every single part of the body that I can come up with right now, okay? Just so that you can have it for reference. El cabello. The hair. La frente. The forehead. Las cejas. The eyebrows. Las pestañas. The eyelashes. Los ojos. The eyes. Los cachetes. Or las mejillas. Las mejillas. Los labios. Y la boca. La boca. La barbilla or the chin. El cuello. And la garganta for the throat. So this is the neck, and then la garganta is the throat. Los hombros. Hombros. Los brazos. Los codos for the elbows. Las muñecas for the wrists. Las manos. And los dedos, the hands and the fingers. Los pechos or los senos for breasts. And pecho, el pecho for the chest. El ombligo, which is the navel or the belly button. La cintura. Las caderas. Los muslos. Las rodillas. Los tobillos. The ankles, the knees, the thighs. Los pies, the feet. Los dedos de los pies. The fingers of the feet or the toes. Okay, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You're an excellent student and you're doing amazing. Thanks for yourself if you stayed this long, and I want to give you a big gold star because you're my top student. Okay, if you've stayed all the way to the end of this video. I'm on about 2 hours and almost 30 minutes of filming. So, gonna have to edit for a long time tomorrow, but I'm looking forward to it. Goodbye, okay? Have a great night, and you'll see me soon.